My child, stop what you are doing and give me these next few minutes, because what I am about to do in your body cannot wait. I am speaking to you now because this moment is not ordinary, and these words are not arriving in your life by accident. Before you open your eyes to this message, before you decided to remain here, before your thoughts even settled enough to listen, I had already chosen this moment to speak directly into the places where your body has been carrying fear, weakness, pain, and silent questions. You may think this is another passing word, another moment among many, but I tell you now that heaven marks certain moments differently, and this is one of them. I am calling your attention because there are times when healing begins with a word before it becomes visible in flesh. And there are moments when my voice reaches deeper than medicine, deeper than fear, deeper than what reports have said, deeper than what your own body has been telling you. This is one of those moments. Stay still and hear me, because what I speak now is entering places inside you that no human eye can fully see. Something sitting silently inside you is hearing my voice right now. Even what has hidden itself quietly, even what has stayed beneath the surface, even what has made you uneasy because you do not fully understand it, even what has caused you to wonder if something is wrong though no one around you noticed. All of it hears me now. The places inside your body that have been under pressure, the areas where weakness has lingered, the parts where discomfort has repeated itself, the organs, the blood, the bones, the nerves, the cells that have carried strain, they all remain under my authority. Nothing inside you is beyond my reach. Nothing inside you becomes invisible simply because it is hidden from others. I know the exact place where fear enters when your body does not feel right. I know how quickly your mind can travel ahead into worry when symptoms remain unexplained. I know how even small sensations can become heavy when you have already carried concern for too long. But hear me clearly. What sits silently inside you is not hidden from the one who formed you. Before this message ends, your body will begin responding to what heaven has already released. Do not measure everything by immediate sensation alone, because my work often begins before your feelings fully recognize it. There are healings that begin in hidden places first, where cells respond before emotions understand, where internal calm begins before visible relief appears, where fear loosens before pain fully leaves. Heaven does not wait for your body to agree before my authority speaks. I speak first, and creation responds in time. Even now, while you listen, while your thoughts settle around these words, while your spirit opens even slightly, there are places inside you becoming quieter under my voice. There are places where fear begins losing strength because my peace enters first. There are places where tension softens because my authority reaches before your understanding catches up. Do not assume nothing is happening simply because you cannot yet explain what you feel. Many things begin quietly when I move. You have cried quietly over pain nobody fully understood, but I have counted every fearful night. I know the nights when discomfort became larger because darkness made your thoughts louder. I know the moments when you searched quietly for answers, when you noticed sensations in your body and wondered what they meant, when you lay awake listening too closely to every feeling because fear had already entered your thoughts. I know the private tears that came not only from pain itself but from the fear of what pain might mean. I know the hidden conversations inside your mind where you tried to stay calm while inwardly asking how long something would last, whether it would worsen, whether anyone else would understand what you were carrying. Some nights you looked calm outwardly while inwardly carrying questions too heavy to speak. Some nights you wanted reassurance more than explanation. Some nights your body felt ordinary to others, but your heart carried silent alarm. I saw all of it. Every fearful night reached me. Every moment when you pressed your hand against an area that hurt. Every time you waited hoping discomfort would pass. Every silent prayer whispered because you did not know what else to do. Every tired thought asking for relief. I remained near in every one of those moments. Even when you thought your fear was too small to speak aloud, I heard it. Even when you thought your concern sounded unreasonable, I still listened because what touches your peace matters to me. I know how pain changes the way people think. I know how weakness affects courage. I know how repeated discomfort slowly steals calm. That is why I am speaking now, not only to your body, but also to the fear that has tried to sit beside your body. Every disease sitting in your body has an expiration date, and that date is not tomorrow, it is now. Hear this deeply, because many times fear makes sickness look permanent before truth is fully heard. What entered your body does not enter with endless permission. What stayed longer than you expected still remains under limits I understand completely. No disease writes its own future inside what belongs to me. No weakness decides how long it may remain without my authority standing above it. Human timelines may frighten hearts because they often speak only from visible patterns, but I speak from deeper authority. What looks settled to human understanding is still answerable to my word. What appears established can still be interrupted when I decide its time has reached its end. Comment, your grace is enough for me if His mercy carries you daily. Do not leave this message early, because the final word carries the healing your body has been waiting to hear. There are moments when your heart must remain present long enough for truth to move deeper than fear. Too often fear leaves too early. Too often anxious thoughts interrupt before peace fully enters. Stay here with me long enough that your body hears what your spirit must first receive. Healing does not begin only in flesh. Often it begins when fear loosens its grip and your spirit stops agreeing with what darkness has been repeating. Stay until my word settles deeper than the report you remember, deeper than the pain you fear, deeper than the tiredness you have carried. Remain, because what I release now is not empty comfort. It is living authority. No sickness survives when I decide to stand inside the room with you. My presence changes atmosphere before symptoms fully move. When I stand near, fear cannot remain unchanged. When I enter, hidden things hear me. You do not need a crowded place for my authority to move. You do not need visible signs before my presence becomes real. If you are alone, I am still here. If your room is quiet, I am still here. If no one else knows what your body has been carrying, I still know, and I still stand where you are. My presence is not limited by walls, by distance, by diagnosis, or by what your mind has been imagining. What matters is that I speak, and what I speak carries life. What doctors call long-term does not frighten me. I do not reject human knowledge, but I am never limited by what human language calls difficult, chronic, delayed, or uncertain. What sounds heavy to human ears does not weaken my authority. I formed what human hands study. I know every system inside you more deeply than any report can describe. I know how organs respond. I know how blood moves. I know where weakness began. I know where repair is needed. I know where inflammation sits, where tiredness lingers, where pressure remains. Nothing inside your body surprises me. Even the area you fear most is under my authority now. The place your mind returns to when fear grows, the symptom you watch too closely, the report you remember, the weakness you secretly fear may become worse. That exact place remains under my command. Do not hide your fear from me. Bring it fully near, because I already know it. The area you fear most does not become stronger because you fear it. It remains answerable to the one who created you. Stay until the final word, because something hidden in your body is about to lose permission to remain. Even if you do not yet understand how, even if your mind still asks questions, stay present enough to receive this truth. I am not speaking casually over you. I am speaking life where fear expected decline. I am speaking strength where weakness tried to settle. I am speaking calm where your thoughts have been restless. And what has hidden itself quietly inside you is already hearing the sound of my authority. My child, before your body gives you clear signs, before your mind becomes fully convinced, before visible relief reaches the places where you have been waiting the longest, I want you to understand something that many hearts struggle to believe when pain has lasted for a long time. Healing often begins before symptoms move. What you can measure is not always the first place where I begin to work. What you can feel is not always the earliest evidence that my hand has already touched what needs repair. There are moments when I begin inside hidden places, in silence, beneath sensation, beneath visible change, beneath what your thoughts can immediately confirm. Because my work does not depend on your body first announcing it. My work begins when I speak, and what I speak starts moving even before your natural senses fully understand that movement. This is why I tell you now not to let fear judge too quickly what heaven has already begun. You have often looked for immediate proof because pain teaches people to search for signs quickly. When discomfort remains, your thoughts begin asking whether anything is changing, whether relief is near, whether healing is truly happening. This is natural because long waiting makes hearts careful. But hear me clearly. Some of my deepest healing begins in places where your eyes cannot look and your hands cannot measure. The body is filled with hidden work every moment. Blood moves where you do not see it. Cells respond where you cannot watch them. Internal systems shift quietly without asking permission from your emotions first. In the same way, when my authority enters your body, repair often starts in hidden places before visible relief reaches the surface. Please support our channel. Our work is dedicated to bringing happiness into your life and guiding you toward devotion to God. If you would like to support us, you can donate through Super Thanks. Heaven touched your body before visible relief appeared. Even before you noticed certain moments of calm, before certain symptoms softened, before your strength changed in ways you could clearly describe, I had already begun touching what needed attention. There are things I started before you called them healing because heaven often moves earlier than a human awareness recognizes. Some pressure inside you has already been met by my peace. Some areas carrying strain have already received my attention. Some internal weariness has already been touched in ways you do not yet fully understand. This is why I need you to stop measuring everything only by what changed today on the surface. What has already begun may still be hidden while deeper layers continue adjusting beneath what you feel. You ask why healing often starts this way, and I answer you gently. Because unseen repair protects faith from becoming dependent only on immediate sensation. If every healing began with instant dramatic change, hearts would trust only what they could quickly feel. But I teach deeper trust by allowing hidden repair to begin before visible confirmation arrives. I know how difficult this can be when you long to feel something clear, something immediate, something obvious enough to silence fear. Yet many times the first evidence of healing is not dramatic sensation. It is quiet inner peace. It is less fear than before. It is subtle calm in thoughts that were once racing. It is small moments where the body feels less burdened though you cannot yet explain why. These are not small things. Often they are early signs that my work has already entered where it needed to begin. Unseen repair often starts silently. Think about how many processes inside your own body already happen without sound. Bones strengthen quietly. Blood repairs quietly. Cells renew quietly. Healing in natural design often happens beneath awareness, and I who formed that design also work in ways that honor how deeply hidden restoration often begins. Silence does not mean absence. Silence often means deep work. There are places inside you where strain has lasted long enough that gentle repair must happen layer by layer. I do not always force visible signs first because hidden systems often need steady, quiet restoration before outward strength fully returns. Do not judge healing by immediate feeling alone. I say this because feelings change quickly, and fear often watches feelings too closely. One moment of discomfort can make you think nothing is happening. One tired day can make you assume healing stopped. One returning sensation can make your mind rush back into old worry. But healing is not canceled every time your body speaks differently for a moment. Internal restoration does not disappear simply because your emotions become uncertain again. Many things improve gradually while feelings rise and fall along the way. You must not decide too quickly that nothing has changed simply because change is not dramatic enough for fear to stop speaking immediately. I know there are moments when you search your body carefully, asking if something feels different, asking whether the heaviness is less, whether strength has increased, whether pain moved, whether tiredness lifted. But if you watch every small feeling with fear, you will miss the deeper peace I am trying to place inside you. Instead of asking only what changed outwardly, also ask what has changed inwardly. Is fear as loud as before? Is panic still sitting where it once sat? Is there not now at least a small space where hope breathes more freely? The two matters, because often healing enters spirit and body together, calming one while restoring the other. Internal restoration begins where eyes cannot see. This is true not only for physical healing, but for how your whole being receives my touch. Some healing begins in your blood before your energy reflects it. Some begins in your nerves before your body fully relaxes. Some begins in organs before outward strength changes. Some begins in inflammation before comfort fully returns. Some begins in sleep before waking peace becomes obvious. Some begins in breathing before your thoughts fully notice calm. What starts hidden does not mean it is weak. Hidden beginnings often carry lasting results because they are building beneath the surface. There are places inside you already responding to my word even now while you listen. The part of your body that has felt tired for longer than expected is not ignored. The place that has carried silent weakness is not forgotten. The area where discomfort repeats itself is not beyond my attention. Even now, while your mind still asks how and when, heaven has already released what your body is beginning to receive. You may not yet know how to describe it, but something already started inside you. Sometimes you expect healing to feel sudden like lightning, but many times it comes like morning light. Morning does not rush. It slowly removes darkness until what was hidden becomes visible. At first the eye barely notices, then slowly more becomes clear. In the same way, some healing enters quietly until one day you realize what once felt heavy no longer controls you the same way. You notice your thoughts are calmer. You notice certain pain no longer frightens you as before. You notice strength where weakness once dominated. You notice your body carrying less fear. This is why I tell you not to reject quiet beginnings simply because they do not satisfy your demand for instant certainty. Heaven already moved before visible relief became obvious, because I often prepare hidden systems before outward confirmation arrives. What you call waiting may already contain progress. What you call silence may already contain repair. What you call small may already be holy movement beneath the surface. Trust that my hand reaches deeper than your own awareness. And my child, do not forget this. Healing is not only the absence of pain. Healing is also the return of peace while the body continues receiving life. Healing is also when fear loses control. Healing is also when your heart stops expecting the worst each time your body speaks. Healing is also when hope returns stronger than anxiety. Sometimes the first visible sign that healing began is not in the symptom, it is in the calm that enters you while the symptom still tries to speak. So receive this truth deeply now. Something already started inside you. Even if you cannot fully measure it, even if your body has not yet said everything your heart wants to hear, even if relief is still unfolding quietly, do not dismiss what heaven has already touched. What begins unseen does not remain unseen forever. What starts silently does not remain silent forever. What I begin inside hidden places reaches the surface in its time. And when visible relief comes, when strength becomes clearer, when peace settles deeper, when your body begins showing what heaven already touched, you will understand that the first movement did not begin the day you felt it strongly. It began the moment my word entered, where fear had been waiting, and quietly started restoring what only I fully knew how to reach. My child, I know one of the deepest questions that has lived quietly inside you during this season. You have asked me, sometimes with words and sometimes only with tears, why certain sickness was allowed to come this close to your life. You have wondered why your body had to carry weakness, why certain symptoms appeared when you were already tired, why fear entered your thoughts through places you never expected to battle so deeply. And because I know how heavy that question becomes when nights grow long and answers seem slow, I want you to hear me with tenderness now. Pain did not mean abandonment. What touched your body did not mean I stepped away. What frightened you did not mean my care became smaller. What entered this season did not arrive because I stopped watching over you. There are moments when weakness touches the body, but even in those moments, my presence remains closer than fear can understand. Right, Jesus, guide my every step if you want him to lead your path. When sickness reached you, many times your first battle was not only physical. Your first battle was emotional. Your thoughts moved quickly. Your mind began asking questions before answers had time to form. A single pain, a strange feeling, unusual tiredness, discomfort that repeated itself, these things often opened doors to fear faster than anyone around you knew. You smiled when necessary, spoke normally when asked, continued moving through ordinary moments, yet inwardly something had already shifted because concern had entered your heart. I saw how quickly worry can rise when the body does not feel familiar. I saw how quietly your thoughts changed when symptoms stayed longer than expected. But hear me clearly, my love did not become distant because your body entered a difficult season. Pain did not remove my hand from your life. Disease did not arrive with final authority. It may have entered your awareness strongly, but it did not arrive as owner of your future. What touches the body does not become final simply because it feels frightening. Human hearts often mistake arrival for permanence, especially when discomfort stays longer than expected. But what comes near you does not automatically receive the last word. Even when symptoms speak loudly, they do not speak finally. Even when fear repeats worst possibilities, fear does not become truth simply because it sounds urgent. What entered your body entered under limits I fully understand. It did not arrive with permission to define all your days. It did not arrive carrying power greater than my authority. I know there were moments when weakness felt larger because waiting made it heavier. Tests, reports, thoughts, searching for meaning, listening too closely to your own body, these things slowly built pressure around your heart. And often what exhausted you most was not only what your body felt, but what your mind feared while your body remained uncertain. Some pains are small physically but become large emotionally because of what they make you imagine. Some symptoms are difficult not only because of discomfort, but because they awaken hidden fear about what may come next. I saw every one of those inner moments. Body weakness became a place of deeper dependence, though I know at times that truth was difficult to accept. You did not choose weakness. You did not ask for this lesson through physical uncertainty. But sometimes, when strength feels interrupted, hearts learn dependence in ways they never learn while everything feels easy. When your body felt uncertain, your prayers changed. They became softer, more real, more urgent, more honest. You no longer prayed only from habit. You prayed because you needed closeness. You listened differently because comfort mattered more deeply. Weakness stripped away some illusions of control, and though that process hurt, it also brought your heart into places of deeper honesty with me. This does not mean I desired your suffering. It means I remained able to meet you inside it. I know some nights you did not feel strong enough even to pray long prayers. Sometimes all you had was a quiet thought, "Lord, help me." Sometimes even that felt heavy. Yet those moments of dependence reached me with great depth because weakness often removes unnecessary words and leaves only what is true. I heard every short prayer, every tired breath, every silent inward cry. I know the nights of worry you carried. Nights often made everything louder because darkness gives fear more room when the body is quiet. You noticed every sensation more strongly. You listened to your own heartbeat, your breathing, your pain, your tiredness, and your thoughts began asking questions that daylight sometimes hid better. Nights stretched longer because rest did not come easily when concern sat near you. There were moments when sleep was interrupted not by noise outside, but by what your own mind would not release. I was there in every one of those nights. I saw the ceiling you stared at. I saw the tears that came because tiredness and fear met together. I saw how lone concern can feel when others around you sleep peacefully while your own thoughts remain awake. Silent body fear became one of the heaviest burdens because not every fear was spoken aloud. Some fears stayed hidden because you did not want to sound weak, or you did not want to alarm others, or you simply did not know how to explain what your heart was carrying. But hidden fear is still seen by me. I know how a body sensation can return and immediately pull your thoughts into silent alarm. I know how quickly your mind can revisit old worries when something feels unfamiliar again. I know how often you have quietly checked whether something still hurts, whether something feels different, whether a certain heaviness remains. Hidden anxiety no one knew also sat deeper than many around you understood. Others saw ordinary moments, but they did not always see how much inner attention your body had begun demanding from your thoughts. They did not know how often your mind returned to questions while conversations continued around you. They did not hear the inward calculations, the silent comparisons, the remembering of previous symptoms, the wondering whether something meant more than it appeared. Hidden anxiety often exhausted you because it worked quietly beneath everything else. And still, my child, none of this meant abandonment. The fact that you felt afraid did not mean I withdrew. The fact that answers took time did not mean I became silent in distance. Sometimes my nearness is most needed exactly where fear is strongest, because fear often speaks where faith feels tired. I remained with you not only in moments when you felt hopeful, but also in moments when your body frightened you, when your thoughts raced, when you imagined outcomes you never wanted to face. There were tests that made your heart uneasy. Waiting for answers became its own burden because uncertainty often feels heavier than confirmed knowledge. Waiting leaves room for imagination, and imagination often becomes cruel when fear is already present. I know how hard waiting felt. I know how every delay seemed longer because your heart wanted peace quickly. Yet even in waiting, disease still did not own final authority. Reports, opinions, delays, discomfort all remained beneath my knowledge and my power. Emotional tiredness also became part of this season because carrying concern for the body drains more than strength. It drains peace slowly. You grew tired not only from symptoms, but from thinking about symptoms. Tired from wondering, tired from checking, tired from hoping, tired from fear and hope itself because disappointment had already touched you before. Emotional tiredness made small things feel heavier. It reduced joy quietly. It made ordinary days require more inward effort than anyone knew. But I tell you now, the season where sickness touched you did not prove absence. It revealed how deeply I stayed while you feared quietly. It showed that even in weakness, your heart still turned toward me. Even in tiredness, you still listened for my voice. Even in hidden anxiety, you still carried hope, though sometimes faintly. So when you remember the nights of worry, remember also that I sat beside every fearful hour. When you recall silent body fear, remember that silence never hid you from me. When you think of hidden anxiety no one knew, remember that heaven knew fully. What touched your body did not arrive carrying final authority. It arrived under limits, and even in this season, deeper than fear, my hand remained over you, preserving more than you understood while teaching your heart that weakness never removes you from my care. My child, I know your body has been speaking in ways that sometimes made your heart uneasy, and I know that many times what frightened you most was not only what you felt, but what you could not fully explain. That is why I am naming what your body has been carrying one by one, because fear grows stronger when burdens remain unnamed, but peace begins to return when truth speaks directly into the exact places that have been troubling you. Nothing inside your body is too hidden for me to understand. I formed every part of you with care, and I know what each system has carried, what each weak place has endured, and what fear has whispered whenever discomfort remained longer than expected. I am not speaking generally to you now. I am speaking precisely because what I identify, I also touch with authority. I know there are some of you who have felt tired blood inside your body, and you may not always have used those exact words, but you have felt what it does when your strength falls too quickly, when your body becomes heavy without clear reason, when standing, walking, or even thinking feels harder than it should. There are days when your body feels as if energy leaves too early, as if something inside you cannot fully carry the life you need through the day. The enemy used that tiredness to create fear. He whispered that this weakness would remain, that this heaviness would become your normal life, that your body had lost the power to renew itself. He wanted you to believe that because you felt drained, you must now expect less from your future. But I identify this burden now. Tired blood is not hidden from me. I know every place where weakness has reduced your confidence. I know every time your body felt slower than your heart desired. And I speak life where weakness has lingered. What feels low is still answerable to my word. I also know weak bones have become a concern for some hearts listening now. Some of you have felt pain in joints, weakness in movement, heaviness when rising, discomfort when standing too long, fear when certain parts of your body no longer feel strong like before. Some of you have quietly wondered whether your bones are carrying more weakness than they should. The enemy took that discomfort and attached fear to it. He made you think your body would only become weaker, that every passing season must bring more limitation, that strength cannot return where weakness has settled. But hear me now. Weak bones are not outside my authority. The one who formed your frame knows exactly how your body carries weight, pressure, and movement. I know the knees that ache, the back that strains, the joints that speak when you wish they would remain still. I know where fear entered because pain repeated itself. Yet pain does not own your structure. I speak strength where weakness has spoken too long. There are also struggling organs that some of you have carried concern about quietly. You may not even speak it often because certain fears feel too large when named aloud. But I know the heart that worries over what is happening inside unseen organs. I know those who fear the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, the heart, the places inside your body where function matters deeply because life depends on hidden systems working quietly. The enemy used every strange feeling, every report, every symptom, every unexplained discomfort to create fear around what cannot easily be seen. He wanted your thoughts to live inside silent panic, imagining the worst before truth had fully spoken. But I identify this burden now. Struggling organs remain under my hand. Nothing inside you works beyond my knowledge. Every organ hears the one who designed its first movement. Will it seem uncertain to you and uncertain to me? I know inflammation has troubled some of you in ways that are difficult to explain because inflammation often carries pain that moves, swelling that appears, heaviness that lingers, discomfort that returns unexpectedly. Sometimes you feel it in joints, sometimes in muscles, sometimes deep inside where pressure remains without visible explanation. The enemy used recurring discomfort to create fear that your body was fighting against itself. He wanted you to think your own body had become a place of endless struggle. But I tell you now, I identify this burden clearly. Inflammation does not remain unnamed before me. I know where heat, swelling, pressure, and repeated pain have set. I know how discouraging it feels when discomfort returns after moments of relief. Yet repeated return does not mean permanent ownership. What rises repeatedly still answers to my authority. Nerve pain has also touched some hearts deeply because nerve pain often confuses people with its sharpness, suddenness, and strange patterns. It can move unexpectedly, appear without warning, disappear, return, and create fear because it feels difficult to predict. Some of you have felt burning, tingling, sudden sharp discomfort, weakness in certain places, sensations that frightened you because they seemed hard to explain. The enemy used that unpredictability to build fear. He wanted every strange feeling to become a doorway to anxiety. But I identify nerve pain now because nothing in your nervous system escapes the one who designed every signal moving through you. I know where pain has traveled. I know what fear attached itself to those sensations. And I speak calm where nerves have carried too much unrest. Hidden fatigue is another burden many carry while appearing outwardly normal. Others may not understand because hidden fatigue often has no visible signs strong enough for others to notice. Yet inside your body you know how deeply tired you feel. Some mornings begin with heaviness before the day even starts. Some afternoons feel harder than they should. Some simple tasks require more inward effort than anyone around you realizes. The enemy used hidden fatigue to create quiet discouragement. He wanted you to believe that because others do not see your tiredness, it must not matter, or worse, that it will always remain. But hidden fatigue is fully known by me. I know the kind of tiredness that sleep does not quickly solve. I know the heaviness that sits behind ordinary actions. I know the emotional weight that joins physical tiredness and makes everything feel slower. What is hidden from others remains clear before me. Say, Lord, you are my strength if He is your power in weakness. And share this video. My child, stop for a moment. What is happening right now is not small, and it is not ordinary. I need your full attention because this moment did not arrive by accident, and these words are not meeting you by chance. Before this hour came, before your eyes reached this message, I had already arranged this meeting between your heart and my voice. You may think this is just another ordinary moment in your day, but I tell you now, heaven does not interrupt without purpose. I am speaking because something important has reached its appointed time, and if you listen carefully, you will understand why your spirit has felt restless, why your thoughts have been unusually heavy, and why deep inside you there has been a feeling that something is about to change. You were chosen to hear this exact word because I know where you are emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. I know what you have been carrying without explaining it to anyone. I know the silent conversations inside your heart that no person has heard. I know the places where you smiled outwardly while inwardly asking me if anything would ever truly shift. That is why I am speaking now with urgency, because what is happening around you is already moving even before your natural eyes fully understand it. Something has already started around you before you even understood it. While you were wondering if the silence meant delay, while you were trying to survive one more day without visible answers, I had already begun moving pieces that you could not yet see. There are moments when my work begins quietly, not because it is small, but because deep things often begin where human sight cannot reach. You have been looking for obvious signs, dramatic evidence, immediate proof, but many of the greatest shifts begin in hidden places before they ever appear in the open. What you call stillness has not been emptiness. What you called delay has not been abandonment. While you thought nothing was changing, I was rearranging what needed to move before your next season could fully open. I was touching areas you did not know needed healing. I was holding back things that were not ready to enter your life yet. I was protecting what you thought we lost. Even now, there are things happening beyond your understanding that will soon become visible enough for you to recognize that I was never absent. You cried in secret thinking nothing changed, but heaven recorded every silent tear. Not one tear fell without being seen by me. Not one night passed where your struggle was hidden from my sight. I watched the moments when you felt too tired to explain your pain. I watched the times when you looked strong in front of others but felt weak when no one was near. I heard the prayers that never became full sentences because your heart was too tired to form words. I understood the heaviness that sat on your chest when you wondered how much longer you would need to carry what nobody fully understood. Even when you thought your pain disappeared into silence, heaven was paying attention. I did not ignore the trembling in your spirit. I did not dismiss the tears you wiped away quickly so nobody would ask questions. Every hidden cry became part of what I am addressing now because nothing you endured was invisible to me. Even when you believed the darkness had covered everything, I was still present inside the darkness, watching, preserving, and preparing. What was stolen in darkness is being returned where everyone will see it. Hear this clearly because this is where your story changes. The enemy believed that what was taken from you would never fully return. There were seasons when your peace was disturbed, when your confidence weakened, when your strength seemed reduced, when your sense of direction became unclear, and when even your own voice inside began to sound uncertain. There were moments when you felt parts of yourself becoming unfamiliar because long battles have a way of draining even strong hearts. But what was touched in hidden struggle will not remain hidden forever. What was weakened privately will be restored openly. The peace that was disturbed will return with visible strength. The confidence that was shaken will stand again in front of situations that once intimidated you. The clarity that felt distant will become sharper than before. People who only saw your quiet survival will soon witness your renewed strength. This restoration will not need explanation because it will carry my signature upon it. Do not leave this message early because the final word carries the answer you have waited for. There are moments when your spirit must remain still long enough to receive fully what I am releasing. Too often fear makes you leave too early, doubt makes you stop listening too quickly, and pain makes you assume that what comes next cannot really belong to you. But I tell you now, remain present in this word because your heart needs to hear what comes after the pain, not only what describes it. Many people understand their suffering but struggle to receive my conclusion over it. I am not speaking only to remind you of what happened. I am speaking to declare what now changes. Stay with my voice long enough to let truth settle deeper than fear. Stay long enough for peace to begin rising where confusion has been sitting. Stay long enough to hear that your story has not reached its ending where pain tried to stop it. This is not another promise for someday. This is my decision over your life now. There are promises that require waiting, but there are also moments when heaven declares that a certain season has reached its limit. I am telling you that some things around you are no longer standing under the same permission they once held. The heaviness that stayed longer than you expected does not own your future. The fear that spoke loudly does not define what comes next. The exhaustion that made you question your strength is not your permanent condition. My decision carries greater authority than every voice that told you nothing would change. My word over you is stronger than the memory of what tried to defeat you. When I decide that restoration begins, darkness does not negotiate that decision. When I declare movement, delay cannot overrule my authority. This is why I need you to hear me deeply now. What I am speaking is not fragile hope. It is active authority. Right, Holy Spirit, fill me with your fire if you're hungry for His power. Even those who thought your story was over will soon witness what I am doing. Some watched your silence and assumed your strength was gone. Some saw your delay and assumed nothing meaningful remained ahead. Some even believed your best days had already passed because they only judged what they could see on the surface. But human conclusions do not control divine outcomes. What I am doing now will not depend on who believed in you and who did not. It will not depend on who understood your process and who misread your silence. What I restore will speak with its own clarity. The same areas where you once felt overlooked will become places where my work becomes undeniable. Not for your pride, but so you understand that I do not abandon what I have marked with purpose. I finish what I begin, even when the middle seasons look uncertain. The pain that almost erased you is about to become proof that I never left. The very place where you thought you were breaking beyond repair is becoming the place where my faithfulness will be clearest. You thought certain nights would permanently define you. You thought certain disappointments had chained too much inside you. You thought some losses had taken too much strength away. But even there, I remained. Even in moments where you questioned if you could continue, I was preserving more inside you than you realized. The pain did not destroy what I planted. It exposed what needed healing, but it did not cancel what I created. Soon you will look back and understand that what nearly erased your peace actually became the place where my hand held you most closely. What almost silenced your hope will become proof that I carried you when you did not know how to carry yourself. And what looked like the end was never the end, because my final word over you has always been stronger than the darkness that tried to speak first. My child, before your eyes recognize what is changing, before your hands can touch what is being prepared, before your circumstances fully reflect what heaven has already decided, I need you to understand that the shift has already begun. It did not begin with noise. It did not begin with dramatic signs that everyone around you could immediately notice. It began quietly, in places deeper than human sight can reach, in moments when you thought nothing important was happening, in hours when you wondered if your prayers were still rising, in days when your own heart questioned whether anything was moving at all. But I tell you now, the beginning of my work often arrives in silence, because silence protects what must first grow beneath the surface. What you expected to happen loudly, I allowed to begin gently, because some changes are too sacred to start in public view. While you were watching the outside, heaven had already moved inside the hidden places surrounding your life. While you were waiting for visible proof, I had already spoken instructions over things that were preparing to obey my voice. You thought the stillness meant delay, but the stillness was carrying movement you could not yet measure. There are seasons when I move so deeply beneath what you can see that your natural understanding feels confused because your eyes search for signs in the wrong places. You expected immediate evidence, but what I started first had to happen where no human opinion could interfere, where fear could not easily enter, where doubt could not interrupt formation. Even now, there are things already set in motion because I gave command before you noticed any outward change. Heaven moved before earth changed. This is why your spirit has felt unusual at times, why certain old thoughts no longer sit comfortably inside you, why some former fears no longer control you in the same way, why even in your uncertainty there have been moments where something inside whispered that the old season could not continue forever. That whisper was not imagination. That whisper was the first sign that movement had already begun. My child, when heaven moves first, earth often takes time to reflect it. Human hearts struggle with this because you often believe change is only real when visible. But many of my strongest works begin where no one can applaud, where no one can predict, where even you may feel uncertain whether anything has shifted at all. Yet long before visible outcomes arrive, I begin adjusting hidden foundations. I touch conversations before they happen. I redirect paths before people know they are changing direction. I remove obstacles before you realize something was blocking you. I open possibilities before you have language for what is opening. What you call delay often contains invisible preparation. And because you did not see every movement, you sometimes assumed nothing was happening. But my child, I was already working while you were asking if I had started. Hidden spiritual rearrangements began while you still felt surrounded by delay. While you were measuring days by what had not changed, I was touching things you could not measure. There were moments when I stopped what could have harmed you before you ever knew it was near. There were doors I closed quietly because what stood behind them was not meant to enter your future. There were voices losing influence over your life while you still thought they carried power. There were burdens beginning to loosen while you still felt their weight. There were unseen conversations in the spirit where your name was already being covered by my authority while you still wondered why answers had not yet reached your hands. Delay was never emptiness. Delay was full of hidden movement. You must understand this deeply, because many hearts lose courage in the middle season simply because they do not understand how often my strongest work begins where sight cannot follow. I was already adjusting what needed to shift before visible signs appeared, because if I allowed everything to happen only where your eyes could confirm it, you would depend too much on visible evidence and not enough on trust. Trust grows where sight has not yet caught up. Faith matures where evidence is still forming. And this season have been teaching you that my hand remains active even when your circumstances look unchanged. Please support our channel. Our work is to bring happiness into your life and strengthen your devotion to God. If you would like to support us, you can donate through Super Thanks. Silence was not abandonment. Hear that clearly, because too many times you interpreted quiet moments as distance. I was not absent because I was silent. I was not far because answers took longer than you expected. Silence has often been the place where I protected deeper work from interruption. If I had answered everything immediately, you would have missed what needed to strengthen inside you first. If every prayer had received instant visible response, certain deeper roots would never have formed in your spirit. I know silence can feel heavy when your heart is tired. I know quiet seasons can make old fears speak louder. I know there were nights when you asked if I still heard you because nothing around you gave quick reassurance. But my silence never meant neglect. It meant deeper work was unfolding beneath the part you could understand. Even in silence, I remained close enough to hear every thought that never became words. Even in silence, I stayed near enough to steady you when your own strength felt uncertain. Even in silence, I prevented things from collapsing that you thought were already too fragile to survive. What felt like unanswered space was often filled with my careful ordering. While you asked why I had not spoken loudly, I was speaking through smaller signs, through preserved strength, through unusual peace that appeared for moments without explanation, through restraint that kept you from wrong choices, through inner warnings that protected you from paths not meant for you. There are unseen doors already unlocked around you, even now, though you may not yet know where all of them are. Some opportunities have already been released in the unseen before they arrive visibly in your life. Some connections are already shifting into place. Some delays that looked permanent have already received their ending. Some walls that looked fixed are weaker than they appear because my hand has already touched them. You think a door opens only when you physically stand before it, but often I unlock things long before you arrive there. By the time you recognize certain opportunities, much of their preparation has already been completed in hidden places. This is why I tell you not to measure your future only by what today looks like. Today does not contain all the evidence of what is already moving for you. What you see now is not the full story. Some answers are already closer than your emotions realize. Some relief has already begun entering areas where you still expect struggle. Some changes are already advancing quietly, and soon what seemed impossible to move will no longer remain fixed as it once was. Confusion was temporary while divine order formed. The uncertainty you felt was not proof that everything was lost. It was often the natural feeling that comes when old structures weaken before new clarity fully appears. When I reorder things, there is often a middle space where what used to make sense no longer feels stable, yet what is coming has not fully revealed itself. That middle space can feel uncomfortable because human hearts prefer clear patterns. But divine order often forms while confusion temporarily surrounds your understanding. You wondered why some old desires faded. You wondered why certain places no longer felt right. You wondered why your spirit resisted things you once accepted easily. Part of that confusion came because new order was forming. What no longer fits you is often the first evidence that movement has already begun. The discomfort you felt was not always danger. Sometimes it was simply the sign that your spirit recognized change before your mind could explain it. I was loosening what no longer belonged so that what does belong can enter without fighting old attachments. This process can feel uncertain, but it is not empty. It is ordered even when not yet fully clear. My child, something is already happening even if you cannot fully see it. Let that settle deeply inside you. Do not let temporary appearances convince you that nothing is moving. The roots beneath the surface are alive. The unseen places are active. Heaven has already spoken where earth has not yet visibly answered. What I begin quietly does not remain hidden forever. The same God who starts in silence reveals in time. The same hand that moves invisibly also brings visible confirmation when the moment is right. So do not fear the quiet. You might fear the slow unfolding. Do not assume stillness means nothing is changing. I am closer than your doubts say. I am more active than your fears understand. I am arranging more than you can currently measure. And when what has begun quietly becomes visible, you will understand that this entire time, while you were wondering if the shift had started, you were already standing inside its first movement. My child, there are things you have asked me in silence, questions you did not always speak aloud because even you struggled to explain them. You asked why certain dark moments were allowed to reach places so close to your heart. You asked why I permitted certain battles to touch areas you had prayed over so carefully. You wondered why peace that once felt steady suddenly became fragile, why confidence that once felt natural became difficult to hold, why purpose that once burned clearly began to feel distant beneath layers of heaviness. And because you love me, because you continued reaching for me even when your understanding felt incomplete, I want to answer you gently but truthfully. Darkness was allowed to touch certain areas, but it was never given authority to own you. There is a difference between temporary access and permanent possession, and many times what frightened you most was believing that what touched you had the power to define your future. But my child, what touched you did not own the final word over you. The enemy was allowed temporary access because some battles reveal what comfort could never reveal. There are strengths inside you that would have remained hidden if everything had always stayed easy. There are prayers that only rose because pain forced your heart deeper than routine ever could. There are truths about my nearness that you would not have understood fully if darkness had never tested whether you still believed I remained near when visible comfort disappeared. This was never permission for destruction without limit. It was not abandonment disguised as hardship. It was not my absence. It was a measured season where certain pressures exposed what needed healing, where hidden weaknesses surfaced so they could no longer remain buried beneath outward survival. What came near you was limited, watched, and restrained by my hand even when you did not feel how closely I remained involved. You thought perhaps the shaking meant something precious had been permanently lost, but loss was not final defeat. Hear this clearly, because many of your tears came from believing certain inner losses meant your story had changed forever. When peace became difficult to hold, you feared something inside had broken beyond repair. When confidence weakened, you wondered if the person you once were had disappeared. When purpose felt drained, you questioned whether the future still carried the same meaning it once held. But what weakened under pressure was not erased. What trembled did not disappear. What felt distant was not destroyed. A field after a storm may look damaged, but roots often remain alive beneath what appears ruined. In the same way, what looked damaged inside you still held life because I preserved what darkness could not fully reach. Yes, peace was stolen in ways that deeply affected you. There were nights when your body was tired but your thoughts would not rest. There were moments when your surroundings looked calm but inwardly your mind kept carrying waves you could not quiet. Peace became difficult not because you lacked faith, but because prolonged pressure can exhaust even sincere hearts. You tried to hold yourself together while questions moved through your spirit without easy answers. You smiled when necessary, answered when spoken to, continued responsibilities, yet deep inside there were parts of you longing simply to breathe without heaviness. I saw every moment when peace felt like something you remembered rather than something you possessed. Comment Jesus, you are my hiding place if you found refuge in His arms. Confidence also suffered in places nobody easily noticed. What once felt simple began to require effort. Decisions you once made clearly became filled with hesitation. Words you once carried strongly began meeting doubt before they left your mouth. You questioned yourself more than you admitted. You replayed conversations afterward, wondering if you had said too much, too little, or not correctly. You looked at yourself through tired eyes and wondered why certainty had become difficult to reach. But confidence was not destroyed. It was covered by exhaustion, disappointment, and repeated internal pressure. What was covered can be uncovered again. And purpose, my child, purpose felt drained because long seasons of inner struggle often make future vision look faint. You did not stop caring, but caring became heavier when your own strength felt reduced. There were days when simply getting through the present consumed energy you once used to dream about tomorrow. There were moments when old passion felt distant not because purpose had died, but because weariness sat too heavily over your spirit. Purpose was not canceled. It was waiting beneath fatigue, still alive though hidden beneath burdens you had not fully released. I saw the secret crying no one else witnessed. I saw the nights nobody saw, when silence became the only safe place for tears because you no longer had energy to explain what was happening inside. Some tears came quietly because you did not even know what exact pain to name. Some tears came suddenly because one small moment touched everything you had been holding inside. Some tears came after everyone else had gone quiet because that was when your heart stopped pretending it was managing well. And I was there through every one of those nights. Not distant, not absent, not unaware. I remained close enough to hear what even your own words could not form. I heard prayers with no words. There were moments when your lips did not move, but your spirit cried out louder than speech. There were times when all you could offer me was tired breathing, long silence, or inward thoughts that never became complete sentences. But prayers do not require perfect language for me to understand them. I heard the surrender hidden inside your exhaustion. I heard the questions hidden inside your stillness. I heard the hope hidden even inside your disappointment. Some of your deepest prayers came when you thought you were too tired to pray at all, because your heart remained turned toward me even when words failed. I also saw the internal battles nobody understood. People around you saw pieces, but not the full weight. They heard ordinary answers while deeper struggles remained hidden because not every battle can be explained easily. Some internal wars happen where language feels too small. The battle between hope and fear. The battle between trust and exhaustion. The battle between wanting to stay strong and secretly feeling close to collapse. The battle between remembering old promises and facing current heaviness. These were not small struggles, and I never treated them lightly. Every internal battle mattered because I know how exhausting unseen wars can become when no one fully understands what your spirit is carrying. There were moments you felt misunderstood even by those near you. You wanted someone to recognize how tired you truly were without forcing you to explain every detail. You wanted comfort without needing to first translate your own emotions into words. But often people only saw the surface because the deepest struggles remained inside places only I fully entered. Even when human understanding felt incomplete, my understanding never failed. I recognized every hidden collapse before you spoke of it. Every moment when something inside you felt like it gave way quietly. Every time you held yourself together outwardly while inwardly another piece felt weak. Every private moment when you questioned whether you could continue carrying what nobody knew had become heavy. My child, divine awareness remained over every hidden collapse. Nothing inside you broke without my attention resting there. I knew when your smile became effort. I knew when your silence became protection. I knew when tiredness reached deeper than physical fatigue. I knew when memory reopened pain you thought had settled. I knew when certain words from others stayed longer inside you than they should have. And I knew when darkness tried to convince you that because certain areas had been touched, your future must now shrink around those wounds. But that was never true. Temporary darkness does not rewrite eternal purpose. Temporary weakness does not cancel what I planted. Temporary confusion does not erase identity. Even what was touched painfully has not escaped my ability to restore. The enemy touched areas, yes, but never owned what belongs to me. Peace can return stronger because it now grows through tested ground. Confidence can rise deeper because it no longer depends only on easy seasons. Purpose can burn clearer because what survived pressure becomes more rooted than before. So when you remember those nights nobody saw, remember also that I saw them fully. When you recall prayers with no words, remember that I answered even what language never completed. When you think of internal battles nobody understood, remember that heaven never misunderstood them for a single moment. What touched you deeply also revealed how closely I stayed through every hidden hour. And what felt like private collapse never escaped my care, because even there, my hand remained under what you thought was falling apart. My child, what the enemy tried to take from you was never random. Darkness does not strike without intention. It studies where your light has meaning, where your future carries weight, where your spirit holds something valuable, and then it tries to touch those exact places quietly, hoping you will not immediately notice what is fading until you begin to wonder why you no longer feel like yourself. That is why I'm naming what was touched one by one, because healing becomes deeper when what was wounded is no longer hidden. Restoration becomes stronger when you understand exactly what was attacked. I do not speak in vague comfort because I know precisely where your spirit has been carrying loss, and I want you to hear clearly that what was touched in secret is now being identified under my authority. Nothing stolen remains unnamed before me, and what I name, I also restore. First, peace was one of the earliest things the enemy tried to disturb because peace is often the first foundation that supports everything else inside you. He knew that if your peace became unstable, many other thoughts would begin trembling with it. That is why there were moments when outwardly little had changed, yet inwardly you felt constant movement, restless thoughts, sudden heaviness, and an inability to fully settle. Peace was not taken all at once. It was disturbed slowly, through repeated pressure, through unexpected disappointments, through silent fears, through long waiting, through questions that returned when you tried to rest. The enemy wanted you to believe that inner unrest was now your normal state, that calm belonged to your past and not your future. You wanted your identity to shift from someone rooted in quiet trust into someone constantly bracing for what might go wrong. But I tell you now, peace is still yours. What was disturbed can become still again. What fell shaken can settle again. Your peace was not erased. It was covered by noise, and I am uncovering it now. Confidence was another area touched quietly because confidence shapes how you stand before life, how you speak, how you decide, how you carry what I placed inside you. The enemy did not only attack your confidence through obvious failure. He used repeated inner questioning. He used subtle comparisons. He used disappointment that made you replay your own worth. He used moments where you began doubting decisions you once would have made without fear. He wanted you to forget how I formed you. You wanted your identity to shift from someone who once walked with inner certainty into someone always apologizing inwardly for existing, always shrinking before speaking, always questioning if your presence matters. But I name this now because confidence belongs to your design when rooted in me. You are not meant to live constantly uncertain of what I placed inside you. Confidence is returning, not as pride, but as quiet strength that no longer depends on approval to stand. Inner strength was also targeted because darkness understands that people can continue moving outwardly while inwardly becoming tired enough to nearly collapse. There were days you continued functioning while inwardly feeling weaker than anyone knew. You answered responsibilities, fulfilled duties, spoke when needed, yet inside you felt reduced. The enemy wanted you to mistake temporary exhaustion for permanent weakness. You wanted your identity to shift into believing that because you felt tired, you had become small. But inner strength was never destroyed. It became hidden beneath too much carrying, too much emotional weight, too much unspoken heaviness. I see the exact places where your spirit became tired. I see how deeply certain seasons drained you. But I also see that beneath that exhaustion, strength remained alive because I preserved it. What felt faint is rising again. Clarity was tutting because when clarity weakens, confusion multiplies quickly. You began questioning what once felt clear. Decisions became heavier than they should have been. Thoughts circled without settling. Sometimes you knew what your spirit sensed, yet your mind struggled to hold it firmly because too many voices, fears, and possibilities surrounded your thinking. The enemy wanted your identity to shift into someone who no longer trusted inner discernment, someone who second-guessed every movement, someone afraid of making wrong steps because confusion became louder than conviction. But confusion was temporary, not permanent ownership. Clarity belongs where my voice becomes stronger than internal noise. I am restoring clarity not by making life instantly simple, but by making your inner hearing stronger again so that what matters becomes easier to recognize. Trust was deeply challenged because trust touches the deepest places of the heart. Trust in me. Trust in yourself. Trust in what lies ahead. Trust in what remains unseen. After repeated disappointments, after waiting longer than expected, after seeing some things not unfold the way you hoped, trust became harder to hold naturally. The enemy wanted you to believe that caution should now replace trust entirely, that opening your heart would only invite more pain, that expectation was dangerous, that believing again would make you vulnerable. He tried to distort your identity into someone who survives by emotional distance rather than living by faith. But trust is not dead inside you. It has simply been wounded by what took longer than expected. I know every place where trust became fragile, and I am touching those places carefully because trust can live again without denying what hurt you. Lost energy also matters to me because many do not realize how deeply spiritual battles affect human energy. There were seasons when even small things felt unusually heavy. Things you once handled naturally suddenly required effort. Emotional fatigue sat on physical energy. Mental heaviness drained simple joy. The enemy wanted you to believe your drained energy meant your future strength was gone. He wanted your identity to become someone who expects constant weariness. But what was drained is being restored. Not just physical energy, but emotional life, inner freshness, the ability to feel light again without guilt. Energy returns when burdens no longer sit where they do not belong. Type "I choose your will over mine," Lord, if you're ready to follow his path, and share this video.